Hello and welcome to Geology and Geotechnical Engineering channel. Today I'm going to discuss the subject Paleozoic era of the geological time scale. The Phanerozoic Eon is the time of the Earth history started before 541 million years, and the Phanerozoic Eon is divided into three major eras. The lower part of it calls the Paleozoic Era, which we are going to deal with it in this presentation today, and in the middle of the Phanerozoic calls the Mesozoic, and the upper part of the Phanerozoic calls the Cenozoic era. The Paleozoic spans around 290 million years and divided into six major periods according to the events and the catastrophes happened to the planet Earth. Starting from the Cambrian, the Cambrian spanned around 51 million years, and the major events in the Cambrian is the domination of the multi-cells organisms, and especially the trilobites. And the Ordovician, the multi-cells organism dominated the oceans of the Earth, and examples of this domination is the cephalopods and the brachiopods and corals and nautiloids, and also the borozoa and plankton organism. The Silurian spans around 25 million years, is the shortest period of the Paleozoic era, and during the Silurian many meteoroids strike the and impact the Earth's surface, and this changed the climatic events of the Earth, and there are also around 8 stages in the Silurian where the climatic changes being recorded in the rock formation belong to this period of the Earth history. The Devonian, the Devonian period characterized by spreading and domination of the seed-bearing plants and trees, and also the ammonoids, the early sharks been found in the oceans of the Devonian, and also orogenies. Many orogenies been recorded in this period of time, and the main orogenies is the Appalacian mountain chains building, and also the Acadian in the North America, and also in Asia, the Ural and Himalayan mountain chains being also built up during this period of time. The Carboniferous characterized by domination of the amphibians and forest, and this period of time ended, in fact, or separated from the period after that by a huge glaciation covered all the planet Earth due to the climatic changes happened to this to the planet Earth during this period of time. The Permian characterized by existence of the great continent Pangea, and also the end of the Carboniferous glaciation. The following is a brief presentation for each of these periods of the Paleozoic era as an attempt to understand the development in the history of our planet Earth. Now, as mentioned before, the Cambrian period span around 51 million years, and the Earth shows up like shown here in this Earth map of the Cambrian, and the position of the Cambrian in the geological timescale is shown here. At the lower part of the Paleozoic era. In general, the life in the Pre-Cambrian time, or the Proterozoic Eon, the late part of the Proterozoic Eon, calls, of course, the Pre-Cambrian, was dominated by unicellular or simple one-cell organism. In the Cambrian, the food chain of the organism based on algae, and a huge modification happened to the life, or to the marine life of the Earth in the Earth oceans. The multicellular organisms dominated the oceans of the Cambrian. Through this period of the Earth history, a rapid diversification of life forms happened, and known as the Cambrian life explosion event. This event spans around 25 million years and left spores in the sediment and rocks belong to this period. Evidence found in South Stake Formation in Wales and in the 1 kilometer thick metamorphic rocks, sandstone, mudstones of Holy Islands outcrop. The Earth climate was cold during the early stages of the Cambrian period, because the continent Gondwana situated near to the south pole of the planet Earth. The average temperature in the recorded in the rock formation of the Cambrian was about 7 degrees centigrade higher than our day's average temperature of the planet Earth. The Earth pools were covered by ice in the Cambrian. The Earth was recovering from the global glaciation of the late Pre-Cambrian or the late period of the Proterozoic Eon. In the end of the Cambrian, the glaciation receded, disappeared, and the sea level rose by ice, fresh water, reducing the salinity and adding more dissolved oxygen to the oceans of the Cambrian. The Ortofisha period, the Earth shows up as shown here in this image, and the position of the Ordovician is shown here in the geological time scale, which is a part of the Paleozoic era. The Ordovician separated from the Cambrian by a notable change in fauna, and documented in the Walsh Lower Paleozoic bedding system. The biodiversification event increased by fish species dominated the this period, and they dominated the oceans of the Ordovician. The Ordovician, recognized by strike of meteoroids much more than our days. Therefore, the Ordovician included 20 stages of climatic changes. The Ordovician seas dominated by mineral calcite, which is inorganic marine precipitated mineral combined with carbonate composing the oolitic limestone, which later become suitable oil reservoir. The biogenic type of the calcite, called the aragonite mineral, this type of mineral compose the shells of the mollusks and dissolved again in the seas of the Ordovicians after the death of these organisms. The climate of the early Ordovician was very hot, but the late Ordovician, the climate become cold by glaciation, intrusion of Hernictian glaciation. The sea level dropped down, and more continents exposed to the weathering processes. The Ordovician end with one of the largest extinction event of the Earth history. The other extinction events happened in Permian, the late Paleozoic era, to Triassic, which is a part of the Cenozoic era. The Ordovician extinction spanned around 3 million years and marked unconformity and beginning of a new period called the Silurian period. By the end of the Ordovician period, 49% of fauna were multicelled and dominated by the brachiopods, the porozoa, the trilobites, and the graptolites. The Silurian period, the Earth shows up as it is shown here in this image, and here we can have distinguish the continent of Americas and the Sea of Arctic, and also the Siberian, the Laurasia, the Baltic area, and also the India and Australia continents shown here. The edge of these continents is the shown here is the subduction zones with the oceanic plates. The position of the Silurian is shown here in this geological time scale, and it is situated above the Ordovician's period. The Silurian is the shortest Paleozoic period, spanning 24.6 million years. In the Silurian oceans, the geode and bonk fishes dominated in clearly diversification of the multicell life form. The Silurian system distinguished in fossils bedding in sedimentary rocks in South Wales. The name Silurian comes from one of the Celtic tribes of Wales. In Bohemia, which is a part of Czech Republic nowadays, the Silurian system shows up in 8 different stages, which points out the changing in the climatic events of the Silurian period, which remarked also up to 8 events of catastrophes happened in this period of Earth history. In the middle Silurian, appears that more than 50% of trilobites and 80% of conodonts extinct. This extinction event made the Ordovician event of the middle Silurian. The other remarkable event named the molt event, where ocean's water become toxic with a lack of oxygen and rich in sulfur and sulfur gases to the atmosphere of the Silurian. The sea level dropped down globally, and the toxic event distinguished by excursion in isotopes measurements in Ural formation in Gotland, which is near to the Sweden. During the Devonian period, the Earth shows up in a paleogeographical map shown here in this image, and this is an image that shows the mountain chains building processes of the Appalacian and Acadian in the North America. Regarding the position of the Devonian in the geological timescale, the Devonian position is here in the middle of the Paleozoic era. The Devonian period spanned around 60 million years. Devonia is an area named in England where the Devonian rock system from this period of history, of Earth history, discovered at the first time. During the Devonian, life forms of on land was occurred in middle Devonian. Forest extended and covered the continents of the Devonian. Fish species dominated in remarkable diversity, and therefore the Devonian named the age of fishes. The first molluscs, especially the ammonite, the trilobites, the brachiopods and coral reefs appeared near to the shorelines of the Devonian seas. The paleogeography of the Devonian represented the represented by the supercontinent Gondwana in the south hemisphere of the Earth, and Siberia in the north hemisphere of the planet Earth. And the new continent, Euro-America, was in between these two great continents. The late Devonian marked with extinction event which ended the Devonian period. The climate in Devonian period was relatively warm. In the early Devonian, the average sea water temperature were about 30 degrees centigrade. These temperatures recorded from an organism called the gondonans, and which these species of this type of organism are sensitive to the changes in the sea water temperatures. While the Earth equator areas were dominated by the desert and dry land. Because of the dropping in carbon dioxide concentration level, flora covered and dominated the Devonian continental surface. This event made the global average of temperatures of the Devonian drop from 30 degrees to 25 degrees. The continental weathering processes increased in the continental surfaces and caused deposition and precipitation of the geological materials at the seas of the Devonian, causing huge and unbalanced load activities at the ocean's floor. The Devonian separated from the Carboniferous by extinction event spanned around 30 million years. This event is known as the Hinchburg event, or Hinchburg glaciation event, in fact. Indicating an enormous change in the global temperatures, and during this event, destruction of the fauna and flora happened to the life forms of the Devonian period. The toxic event also connected to the Devonian period simultaneously with the glaciation event. The Earth's atmosphere was toxic and oxygen found dissolved in ocean water alone. The Carboniferous period and the paleogeography of the Carboniferous is shown here in this image. The position of the Carboniferous period is shown here in this in the geological time scale, and it is in the upper part of the Paleozoic era. The name of Carboniferous means coal bearing, referring to many coal-bearing rock formation in the United States. In the United States, the early Carboniferous period calls the Mississippian, and the late part of it calls the Pennsylvanian. During the Carboniferous, the amphibian dominated the continental land and diversified to many lizard species as snakes and crocodiles. In the late Carboniferous or the Pennsylvanian, insects dominated the forest of the period and in different species. Forest with different plants and trees types covered the continents of the Carboniferous period. These plants cover become the source of coal that characterized this period of time from the Earth history. There are evidence shows that in the late Carboniferous, oxygen gas levels in the atmosphere was higher and up to 35% comparing to our day's oxygen level, which is measured to be 21%. The climate in the Carboniferous changed by global sea level dropping down due to orogenies of the mountain chain building processes and due to the continental drifts and continental collisions and as a result of these orogenies, the continent Pangea appeared in the surface of the planet Earth. The upper late Carboniferous, characterized by glaciation age, covered almost the planet, causing a total collapse to the rain forests of the late Carboniferous. The Permian and the paleogeography of the Permian shows here in this image where the continent Pangea dominating the Earth continents and Earth surface. The position of the Permian is the upper part of the Paleozoic era, and the name Permian refers to the Perm region of Ural mountains in Russia. The Permian period separated from the Carboniferous by ending of the global glaciation age started in the Carboniferous period. The Permian period characterized by the appearance of a great continents Pangea. On the land, diversification of synopsis and reptiles were notable and noticed in rock formations belong to this period. The supercontinent Pangea formed from collision between Ur-America and Gondwana continents. Early in Carboniferous resulted in the huge mountain change of Himalaya, which is up to 8 kilometers from the sea level, and at the edge of the social line of the collision of these huge continents, the Pangea was surrounded by the great oceans of Appalacian. The major event of the Permian is the volcanic eruption of emission southwest of China and Siberia north of Russia. The volcanic events destroyed around 80% of the life forms covered on the continental areas of the Permian, and also 70% of the marine life forms also extincted. These events preserved in the rock formations belonging to the Permian period. Permian atmosphere temperatures were extremely variable and caused monsoon rainfalls and descents topography that dominated the Pangea continent. The best Permian represented formations is showed up in Texas, New Mexico red beds. Now we have come to the conclusions of the presentation for today. The planet Earth in the lower part of the Phanerozoic Eon or the Paleozoic Era suffered by 4 major and global glaciations, turned the planet Earth into snowballs and destroying surface and marine life forms, and rose again in different shape and life forms, and preserved oxygen concentration levels in the atmosphere. The planet Earth suffered from many continental drifts during the Paleozoic Era, shaped and reshaped the continents through regional orogenies of mountain chain building at the suture line of the collided continents. As a result, mountain chain, the Ural in Armenia, the Himalayan in India, the Appalacian, the Acadian in North America appeared on the Earth's surface. Almost 28 climatic changes recorded during the Paleozoic Era. Due to meteoroids impact and global volcanic eruptions occupying the atmosphere of this era by toxic sulfur gases combinations. Well, in the end of this presentation, I would like to thank you for watching this presentation. My name is Sabah. I'm engineer geologist, and my next lecture video will cover the Mesozoic era. And please share this presentation to your friend and colleague. And again, thanks for watching, and take care.